Well, hey there. Welcome to the Leap into Live Streaming Boot Camp. So great to be here. I'm Angus Nelson, and I get the opportunity over the next few minutes to share with you about this human quotient, about connecting and converting the people that are part of your live streaming. So I've been live streaming for a few years now. I want to just pause and say thank you to Ecamm and to Katie and Stephanie for inviting me to be a part. And I want to jump in here and kind of take you on a little bit of a journey. So let's get into here a little bit more clearly. I got to play this live streaming for human connection and conversion. That's a little bit of an example for you about how this stuff goes. It's very human making mistakes. And so I hope that if you have not been streaming for a while, that you'll find courage, you'll find some encouragement, you'll find some inspiration over the next few minutes. If you have been streaming, my hope is that you're going to get some takeaways that are going to help you maybe tweak the way that you approach how you're actually going on camera and connecting with the people that you need to most. So let's get started. Every one of us starts with life with somebody influencing us. It could be a teacher who spoke into our lives. It could be a coach who taught us this way or that way to get better at our sport. Or perhaps it was a job where you had a great manager or a great boss. Every one of us have had someone speak into our lives at some point or another. And sometimes that's been super positive and helpful and it's gained us traction. Other times, not so much. They weren't all that great and maybe even put some things in your head that have held you back and become limiting beliefs. We're going to talk a little bit about that here in a little bit. But I want to make this first point. We think oftentimes that as the person who's going to be live streaming, that we've got to have it all together, that we've got to be this person who's going to be the expert that knows everything about everything. Well, I don't know if you know this, but your parents are probably a great example, the teacher, the coach, and even the boss or manager. What you come to learn as you become an adult is that we're all kind of doing the best we can with what we got. We're kind of not necessarily faking it, but we're kind of faking it, if you know what I mean. And there's an element of this that we believe that because we have to have it all together, we have to be perfect. And we also believe on some level that we're all going to have someone that's going to motivate us. We need to believe in somebody. But I want to tell you this, we are not motivated by who we believe in. Let me say that again. A teacher, a coach, your parents, a great boss or manager. You can think like, man, if they believe in me, like that's really going to help me. Or excuse me, if I can believe in them and I can follow them, then that's really going to motivate me. I kind of gave away my cards here because the truth of the matter is it's actually the opposite. So we are motivated by those that believe in us. It's that mom who keeps speaking in our life, that dad who keeps saying all those great words at the right time. It's that coach on the sports field that says that they believe in us in some form or fashion, or a teacher. These are the people who have actually molded us and shaped us when they spoke positively into our lives. They're the ones that motivate us. And as such, this is your opportunity as a live streamer is to be the person that speaks belief and makes that a contagion into your listener. This is a critical piece to how we communicate because ultimately people want to be led. I mean, oftentimes we say like, "Oh, I can do it on my own, and I'm just going to earn this. I'm going to fight for this, and I'm a fighter. Whatever." But reality is, man, if I could find somebody that could help me get there faster, I might be inclined to follow. And oftentimes that's where we're at. Is we're at this place where we are desperate to find somebody to show us the way. So there's this piece that we don't need heroes, even though oftentimes we say we look up to this person, we look up to that person. What we're actually looking for is a guide, someone to show us the way. And if you've been around this marketing world, you've heard this comparison. Joseph Campbell, he told us about the hero's journey in Star Wars is a great example of this, where a Yoda is guiding a young Luke Skywalker in the ways for him to become a powerful Jedi. And that's kind of a metaphor for your role, is that you are not here to be the Luke Skywalker. As a live streamer, your job is actually to be the Yoda You get to be the guide, and you make the listener, the viewer, they're the real hero. So, with that, let me introduce you myself. My name is Angus Nelson, and I am a coach. I work with high performing men, leaders in the business space who are looking to make their next big step. I help them get past their mindset and get to the critical strategic uh, propellant, if you will, to get from where they are to where they want to go in 90 days or less. That's what I do. So, a lot of the way that I stream is kind of motivational, kind of inspirational, kind of teaching, kind of in your face, but ultimately, it's all about speaking to a specific person. And part of that is in my story. And I also didn't tell you that I'm a host of a podcast called Up in Your Business. And that leads us into my story here. It was in the late 1990s that I was running my first business. And I was doing like all of us, we just crunch along, making things happen. I was an entrepreneur trying to cut my teeth on my first business. And at the time, I made some immature mistakes and I got us into trouble financially. And then we got into 2000 bubble, the dot-com bubble, and then 2001 was 9/11. So suddenly, my poor choices in that financial realm actually were magnified because the giving had kind of dried up in our community. And so as things got harder, I did what most of us do is as the things got harder, I worked harder. I'm going to try and turn this around. So it went from 40 to 50 to 60 to 70 to 80-hour work weeks. And at the time I was married and I was trying to fight through all this to prove to everyone that I could make it happen, that I could turn this ship around. Yeah, I was trying to prove it to my board. I was trying to prove it to the community. I was trying to prove it to the financial givers. I was trying to prove it to my wife and my family. And ultimately, through that pain, I started to cope. It started with alcohol and then it turned to porn. And before you knew it, I blew up everything. I blew up the business, I blew up my marriage, and I blew up my self worth. I got to this point where I had to put things back together again. And this became the emphasis for where I'm at today because everything that we've gone through prepares us for what life is preparing for us. And I share this story with you to let you know that perfection is not necessary. You don't have to have it all right and have the perfect story. My story is anything but. And it was through my trial and through the lessons learned, going through my stuff, that's what helped people connect with me. You see, as I said, life prepares you for what life is preparing for you. So, what have you experienced and what are the trials and tribulations that you've gone through? My guess is part of your story now becomes your story. This is the opportunity for you to speak into people's lives who are once where you were so they can get to where you are. And so I want you to know this: perfection is a myth. And in your mind, you're thinking that if I'm going to jump into a live stream, I've got to have it all together. I've got to get it all right. Know this: perfection is actually the enemy, because when people see someone else as perfect, they disqualify themselves from thinking that it's possible for them. And I always say, when you show yourself vulnerable, you give others permission to do the same. Now, the degree of that vulnerability is according to your comfort and according to your audience. You don't want to like throw everything out and wear all your feelings on your sleeve, but there's a degree of vulnerability that invites people to be a part of your story. So your imperfection is now your new superpower. It is your ability to help people connect with your vision, your guidance, your mission. We're going to dive into that today. So, people, they are coming for your guidance, but they will stay for your relevance. Let me say that again. People will come for your guidance, but they stay for your relevance. How you apply yourself into their lives is where that symmetry is created and the connection starts. They have to find that your message is relevant to their need, to their pain, or to their challenge. It's their community, if you will. So, human connection and conversion is deeply psychological, deeply emotional. If you connect to these components, you will find massive success. So let's dive in. I come from a place of where I think value and worth are everything. And when you show worth, things are priceless and precious. We think of like seeing some shiny little rock on a little gold ring in a window, and we're like, man, what is that worth? Right? We go to some restaurant, we open the menu, and especially if it's one of those fancy restaurants where they don't have the price on the menu, we're like, well, I wonder what that's worth. That's the price of value. And the things that we give more value or more worth become more important to us. And so I built an acronym around this to show the importance and the value of the people that you serve because they are worth it. And all the things that are holding you back, the things that are keeping you from being your full self and really leaning into live streaming is based on your own self perceptions and limiting belief that you don't know that you are worth it too. I want to flip the script that you see that this is not about you. This is about the people that you're serving. And when you can turn that focus to them, everything changes. So let's start with the first W here. It's who. And then we're going to talk about the opportunity that you're presenting, then the relationship you're building, the way that you're thinking about it, and then the heart that you carry into it. So let's start with the who. This is the who you're serving. How do you know who you're serving? Now, we think like, who should I go find? Who am I looking for? And I would say to you that it's not who you're looking for as much as it is as who are you for? It's a little bit of a switch is your approach, your style, your nuance is for somebody. You're 1 in 7 billion. You're super unique. And the way you do things are very different than the way that other people do things. And so when you're like looking around, you're like, oh, I'm not like this person. I'm not like that person. Good. That's awesome. That should be something that gets you excited. You don't want to be like somebody else. You want to be fully you. And there is an audience that will come to find you. And the other component to this is we think that we have to go through these masses of people to kind of like hone in on who is that direct person that we're supposed to find, right? So we think of it as kind of like trying to hit this bullseye, right? Well, let me share something with you. It is not a bullseye that you're after. If this is about who are you for, well, then it takes a lot of the energy out of it. You're not so much hunting for people as much as you're expressing and you're letting the world know who you are and what you're about. And once you start doing that, you be you, you start to attract what you are. Now, psychology teaches us this that as a man thinks, so is he, right? And the psychology then breaks into a series of what's called equilibrium. Equilibrium in psychology is whatever's internal is going to express itself external. Whatever you see of yourself on the inside, you're going to want to experience on the outside. And so it's super important that you build up your personal self. And I'll dive into that in a little bit here in a few moments. But when you just come at it from a place of chaos, if you're confused, if you're afraid, if you're nuanced in some kind of bad energy, it's going to be very difficult for you to attract your tribe. So getting to a place where you're comfortable with your message and yourself and your own skin, that's the first component. And once you start doing this, there's always going to be a little bit of intimidation. I mean, don't get me wrong. Every time I turn on this mic, I'm going to like have a little pause and I'm going to want to, stop it and restart it. But the power here in live streaming is that it doesn't matter. Like the show must go on. And as you build this confidence, you get cleaner in your delivery and the way that you talk. In addition, when you do make mistakes, you don't like fall all over yourself. You're being your full self. And when you be your full self, others can identify with you. They see themselves through you. And in some way, they're like, seeing you as maybe this person is the person that could show me the way. They could guide me. And in addition to them identifying and they see that it's someone like me. So here's where they cross this bridge of knowing what's possible, and they can think in their minds, well, it's happened for this person or it's happened for that person, but it might not be possible for me. That's the way some of us think until we see somebody like us do that thing. And once somebody else does it, well, then I suddenly think it's possible for me too. So suddenly you have the ability to lead, to guide, and to show them the way. So you want to look at what are the pains you solve? What is your mojo? What is your special sauce? What is your perspective that helps you in some form or fashion be able to help people? Now, on one end, like me, it can be this more emotional and touchy-feely woo-woo stuff. For others, it might be technical, like, let me show you how to operate a phone. Let me show you how to read a book or to write a book or how to keep a journal. Like all these different components of whatever your special expression is, that's what you want to come to conclusion is like, what are the pains I solve? What is the things that I'm helping other people with? And then the next piece of that is where do these people hang out? Is it on YouTube? Is it on Facebook? Is it on LinkedIn? Is it on Twitter? Like these are the places where you're going to want to do your live streaming. And oftentimes people live stream on all channels thinking that it's going to be really effective. And when you're first starting out, it's not nearly as effective as it could be if you hone in on your tribe, the people who are just like you. Or more specifically, they're you, yes, last year, or they're you 4 years ago or 5 years ago. But in some form, they're following a trajectory on a path that you've already walked. That's your ideal client, your ideal customer, your ideal viewer. And what are the fears and challenges that they have? You've probably faced them yourself. And being able to speak to these things, that's where they hear like, oh my gosh, you get me. You know me. You understand me. The more effort you put into understanding your customer, your viewer in this context, the more powerful your connection will be with them. Furthermore, the way you articulate who you are and what you have to offer in light of your customer makes all the difference in the world. You have the opportunity here to justify their failures. Hey, it's not your fault. I know why you went through that. I've been through it too. You allay them of their fears. Like, oh my gosh, this thing that you thought, well, guess what? It's not what you thought. You throw rocks at their enemies. You don't like them. I don't like them either. People love to like connect with people against things. You confirm their suspicions. You once thought this thing. Guess what? That's probably true. I think that same thing too. Or you encourage their dreams. You've lived it, you've made it possible, and now you're telling them they can do it too. These are ways of you communicating with your ideal client that helps them understand a connection with you. It helps them decide that you're someone to guide them. And by the way, these little scribbles here are from a guy named Russell Brunson, his book Expert Secrets. So I put that little thing down there on the bottom was attached to the picture. So great book, one of my favorite books I read last year. Little side note there for you. So who are you for? So we think like, I just want to be for everybody. And I'm going to tell you, don't start going after everybody, because if you go after everybody, you'll get nobody. You just want to start with the people you are for. And then let it grow as you evolve, as you learn and get better at what you do and get better at your craft, better your knowledge of your thought leadership. Then you will add to that another ring of people who also want to follow you. Now you're developing strength in this place, and you're going to start to have a little bit more velocity around this knowledge base. And maybe you'll know other facets of your expertise, and you'll start to attract more people. So instead of trying to go through the masses and then just try and hit them all to like uncover, no, just start with the people who will resonate with you, and the rest will follow over time as you personally grow. The challenge is for you to become the person you need to be in order to do this thing you see in your heart to do. The more that you can be this person and apply yourself to personal growth, professional development, the more that you grow, the more opportunities you will have. So we go from the who you are trying to reach to the opportunity that you're presenting. What is the opportunity that your message is providing for people? What is the opportunity that they have if they follow your guidance? Like, what is the transformation? What is the opportunity? What is the possibility? Oftentimes it looks like this. They're looking at what you're doing. They don't understand. They don't have a clue because you haven't made your message known. You haven't made your message clear. You haven't given them something to like get very, very clear on what it is that you're trying to do. So, what is the cause? What is the why? Simon Sinek, he wrote a book about the why. You've got to give people something to follow. This is the thing they're looking for. And I like to call it your value proposition. I'm going to teach you a little something, and I'll provide for you a little worksheet that you can kind of follow along to develop your value proposition easier. So the best way that I know to approach this, and it can look in very, very different variations, but it's along these same lines. It says, I do X for Y so that they can Z. Now, I do X. What is it that you do? What's your magic mojo? What's your special sauce? For Y, how do you define your ideal customer, client, viewer? How do you define them? And then what is it that you are empowering to do so they can, what is that? What is that thing that you help them to do? So Simon Sinek, like I said before, he said, say what you believe and attract the people who believe what you believe. So this goes back to that who, when we can define that. And now we move to this message of the opportunity. We're speaking about our belief system. We're attracting the people who also believe and see things through the same lens. So you want to make it super clear. The clearer, the better. So much so that once you can say it in one sentence or two at the most, then someone's got clarity that they can say, aha, I think I want to follow you too. I want to learn more about you. I want to read your stuff. I want to watch your stuff or whatever. Or they can refer somebody and say, you know what, maybe it's not for me. But Sally, no, Sally, she's totally going to get into this. You're going to be perfect for Sally. She's going to love you. Make it clear, and people can put you in their little mental box, because that's what we're kind of, I mean, for lack of better terms, we're kind of lazy thinkers. Like, we want to jump and understand very clearly, and so that we can move very efficiently. So the clearer you can make it, the smarter you look. And then the second piece is say it often. So if you're on your live, in your live stream, the more often you can say what is you do throughout different shows, you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm repeating myself over and over. This is crazy. No. What you're doing is you're re-emphasizing for people to understand why they're there. So I do X for Y so that they can Z. This is your challenge. This is my throwing down the gauntlet for you to get very clear on this so that you can articulate it loudly and often. The next piece of this is what my value proposition. I help high performing men navigate their next big step to achieve the life, family, and business they deserve. Like, that's what I do. Who I serve are high performing men. How I serve them, I'm navigating their big step. And where am I trying to take them is to achieve the life, family, and business that they deserve. And the guys that I serve, oftentimes they're being high performers. They're capable of so much, and they kind of build a lot of stuff around them, and then they become the bottleneck. And so they may have aspirations, but they get super frustrated. because they can't move forward. They feel like they're stuck. They feel like they're ramming their head against a wall and they don't understand why. And the reality is they haven't learned to delegate. They haven't learned how to create repeatable systems, and they haven't gotten a different mindset that helps them to recalibrate their brain and their identity to see a different approach. That's what I do. But if I were to go and explain all that, people would be like, I don't know I don't know. How do I tell? Mm-mm. I help high-performing men navigate their next big steps so that they can achieve the life, family, and business they deserve. So much easier. And quite frankly, sometimes I say it even easier. But you want to get as clear as possible. Now, if you're a brand, you're not just, a mission, a coach, or whatever. If you're an actual brand, let me give an example of something that worked in our family. So my wife runs our family travel blog. In 2014, we took the year off and we traveled full time. I worked for a company out of the Bay Area in San Francisco. So all I needed was Wi-Fi and an airport, and I was good. So we sold our house, and every month we stayed at an Airbnb or a VRBO. And my wife started blogging about it and telling stories. And when we told our oldest child, she was in college at the time, she just started college. We told her what we were going to do, and she said, "Y'all crazy." And thus begun Those Crazy Nelsons. So that became our family travel blog. But then eventually at the end of that year, we decided to move to Nashville, Tennessee. And Those Crazy Nelsons was great for just our family and friends. And they just, thought it was cute and stuff. But when my wife started doing branded content, it didn't have as much resonance. It didn't have specificity. It was just Those Crazy Nelsons, and it was cute. It was fun, but it didn't have the same moniker of something that could be clear. So my wife spun up another name. She went and did some research on search engine optimization in Nashville. She came up with a term that was being searched for often, and it was weekend trips from Nashville. And so she spun up a secondary part of our brand using all the same content and repurposing it under Weekend Trips from Nashville. All these people are coming to Nashville. It's kind of a hot city. And I mean, outside of the coronavirus and our tornado, but typical fanfare, people love to come to Nashville, and we're growing like weed, or like a weed. So they get here, then what? Where can they go? Well, Weekend Trips from Nashville will be their guide. Road trips for busy Nashvillians. Oh my gosh. Her growth just exploded. She started like in October, and she had like 4,000 followers in just a number of months. Like, it changed the game because of the people that could identify with who she was and where she was. That's how you can get very clear, is having a message or a brand or a subtitle of some sort that helps people understand clearly what it is that you offer. That's your value proposition. The last piece of this is to tell your story. So I show this picture again. You heard me at the beginning of this presentation, me share my story. And I share my story often because I want people to understand who I am and how I do what I do, like where I came from. And oftentimes there are different degrees in how I tell that story, depending on who I'm talking to, the level of detail or speed that I take to share it. But the fact that I share it helps people who are new connect with me as the person. And that's intentional. The more you tell your origin story, the more people can see the path that you've laid. And now they can come and join on. It becomes kind of like an entry ramp to a freeway. Get your value proposition and tell your story. Those two components are going to be super powerful for you in the context of creating the opportunity that people have to follow you. Third piece here is the relationship. This is the relationship that you are building with your audience. And another word in this R category for the acronym could be relatable. Another word could be relevant. All of these are components of that relationship, the relatability and the relevance. Those are the pieces. Remember, as I said in the beginning, I said that people will come to you for guidance, but they will stay for relevance. This is the magic sauce. Let me dive into this. You see, when you're talking and you're doing your Facebook lives, you're doing your LinkedIn lives, you're doing YouTube, whatever, this live streaming, As speakers, this is a hard one because I do public speaking too. I'm a keynote speaker. I've spoken a lot of really cool places, a lot of big corporations, headquarters, blah, blah, blah. This was really humbling that people will often forget what you say, but they will always remember the way you make them feel. And Carl Brunner said it kind of a little bit nuanced. He said, they may forget what you said, but they will never forget how you made them feel. Kind of an element that your words are not as critical as the emotional response that people have in talking to you. And so learning the nuance of communication, cadence, timing, emotion, those can be really, really powerful. Those are the things that help people connect on different levels. And so this relatability and this relevance is all about how you're communicating as much as what you're communicating. Furthermore, you don't want to just talk about this thing or that thing, but you want to give your audience something to stand for. The biggest component psychologically of people coming to connect with you and then converting is, if you think of building a culture. I said that on purpose. It's a cult. Again, this is something I got from Russell Brunson. Is you just like a cult, people have a different lingo, a different language, a different understanding, some kind of a premise, right? But you're bringing a culture to your brand. You're giving them something to belong to, right? And so part of this could be a manifesto. Like, what does it mean to be a part of your tribe? What does it mean to be in congruence with your brand or your messaging? I'll give you some examples here. So again, using Russell Brunson as an example, he has a thing called ClickFunnels, and when he first started, he had this little community, was funnel hackers, is what they call themselves, and so he built a funnel hacker manifesto, and I'm not going to go and read all of it to you, but on the right hand side here, it talks about kind of the shortened version, and they made it so that you could actually put it on your phone, so that you saw it every time you picked up your phone. You could see what it is that you're all about, and you're like, oh, I can read this thing. It says, I define my own destiny, I create my own luck, I build my own empires, and I change the world. I'm just one funnel away. Or another version of this is Lady Boss. If you're familiar with Lady Boss, they have a manifesto, and then they have the shortened version. I never give up. I give no excuses. I push through. I spread sparkle. I get it done. I take action. I am confident. I love myself. I kick butt. I stay focused. I'm unstoppable. Like, these are the components of what it means to be a lady boss. And man, if you identify with that, then of course you want to be part of the lady boss tribe. You're going to get their sticker. You're going to wear their hats. You're going to wear their shirts. Oh my gosh, you're going to be a part. You're sold to be a part of this group. People want belonging. Part of it is an identity. Part of it is their tribe. Part of it is this thing that they get to be a part of. Another component of this could be Facebook groups or LinkedIn groups. So this is one group here, Life of Dad. I used to work with them. They have like 3 million followers you see up there. And so Tommy and his wife there, we're doing a Facebook Live talking about date nights during lockdown. And they had like 437 viewers on while watching when I jumped in there just earlier tonight. And then they also have other groups as a part of their Facebook page. And they have a singles dad group, an expectant new dads, dads of new teachers. So these are all communities within their one brand. And they do Facebook Lives to communicate and connect because these dads want belonging. Another example of this is for speakers. If you've been following around the coronavirus, obviously there's no events going on right now. There's lots of conferences that have escaped, and all these speakers have completely lost their income streams and have had cancellation after cancellation. And some of them lost 30, 40, $50,000 in revenue already just within just a few weeks. And so Scott Stratton, who's a big time speaker, he created this group, and in this group, every day he and his wife go on and talk about some of the things that they could be working on. And one of the things in particular, they're actually talking about doing virtual events, and what does that look like? Another opportunity is networking. when you get into live streaming outside of your group and you want to network with others, maybe other thought leaders or people that you aspire to be or people that you revere, you can also invite them to be a part of live streaming conversations. And so here's a friend of mine, Greg Narian. He's talking to one of the guys from Twitter, obviously given an opportunity to build his networking cred. The guy here on the other side, Jim Fuse, and his buddy Tom, I think it's Tom, they are connecting with somebody here. These are all networking opportunities when you do it on an interview base of live streaming. You can expand your network and make connections and create community even beyond the community you're building proper. Next one is your thinking. Like, this is the way that you see the world. And our world is super noisy. And like I said before, you're going to be like looking to the left or right. You may be comparing yourself with other people. These are the things you do not want to listen to. The noise, don't listen to the noise. You've got to shut out all the other voices around you. All the things, especially right now, that are negative and crazy, like steer clear of that stuff. Number two is the opinions. Sometimes you're going to get people that don't like what you do. That's okay. In fact, you should wear that like a badge until you get your first haters, like life you think is so squeaky clean. And then suddenly you have a hater and somebody cusses you out. Guess what? Welcome to the club. That's when you know that you are standing for something. When others don't get it, that's perfect. Third piece is the pressure. You feel this pressure. It's all inert, or inert. That's not the word. You've created it. It's all self applied. Don't let that pressure pull you down. Don't feel like you've got to get this done and get it done by a certain time, whatever. Like, just go with the flow and just, meet the deadlines that you have to, but don't beat yourself up about it. And the last piece is your experience. Maybe in the past you've had bad experiences. Maybe in the past you didn't finish things. You didn't do well in things, or it may not have gone well for you. That was then. Today's a new day. So don't listen to the noise. Don't listen to opinions. Don't listen to the pressure. Don't listen to the experience. And to all of that, you just want to say, nope. So that's the first thing about your mindset and the way that you think about all this. And the next piece of this is keep the main thing the main thing. What is it that you're sent out to do? You're sent out to impact people, right? So this is an acronym for the main thing. One is the mindset. Like, how are you seeing yourself? How are you investing in yourself? Are you getting leadership into your own life? Are you watching videos that can give you personal development? Listening to podcasts that are going to build you up? Listening to teaching from other thought leaders or gurus in your space that are going to build you up and to give you a powerhouse of mental capacity. The second piece is your attitude. Are you coming from it from a place of lack or a place of abundance? Is your attitude one where you think the world is coming against you and you are just a victim of the world? Or do you believe that you have influence of the world? In other words, are you the thermometer or are you the thermostat? Are you setting the temperature? Are you making things happen? Or are you just like at the mercy of? Those components of that attitude will change everything. And what are the inputs? Like I said, what are you listening to is also an element of the leadership that you're allowing into your life. Like, you've got to input yourself with the right stuff, the right foods, drinking lots of water. I have water here I've been drinking. Fill yourself with exercise. Those inputs will make a huge difference. And then nurture yourself. Right now, man, mental health is a huge issue. Take the pressure off yourself and nurture yourself. Have some self-care. Take care of you, because that thing when you get on a plane and the mask drops and they say, put your mask on first before you put your mask on kids or someone else. Because if you aren't coming from a place of wholeness, it's gonna be very difficult for you to bring others to wholeness. So take care of you. So then the last piece of this is your heart. Where are you coming from this thing, this heartbeat? There's a here, there's a help, and there's a human quotient to all of this. Be listening to your viewers. Listen to their questions. Listen to their challenges. Listen to their problems. And then have a response to that and build a catalog of expertise on how to help them more. And in helping, understand there's components to how you can help. Like, are there tools and resources or courses that you can create that A, help them move forward faster, or B, if they're really powerful, is there something you can put a price tag on and create a revenue stream? And understand this, that things people pay for, they pay attention. I worked in nonprofit for a long time, and I noticed that when I started charging people for my coaching, they made way more progress, and I actually got some cash for it. I could actually pay my bills. But before that, in nonprofit, I would help people, I would coach them, and they rarely took action. And it was kind of frustrating. I'm like, man, I told you what you could have done. I totally gave you insight. And then human. Again, you don't have to be perfect. Be human, be connected, have empathy, have compassion, see people, take the time to really see them. This is how you connect with the people that you serve. And that's how you're going to convert them, is when empathy is first and foremost. Empathize with your people. See them as the person that, gosh, you once were, that you can be that person you wish was there for you during your season. That's the power of empathy. So as we're bringing this thing together, it's all about worth. It's who are you built to serve? What is the opportunity that you're presenting, that you're making available for people? What's the relationship you're going to develop with them and helping them to connect both with you and with each other? Maybe building out a new identity, a new way of seeing life. What is the way you're thinking about it, the way that you're processing this ability, and then the heart that you have behind it? How are you reaching with empathy and power? Like, these are the components that are all possible. These are the things that when you put the worth, this acronym, into your work, you make the work worth doing. I hope this has been of great service to you. But before we go, I want one more thing. Worthy. I'm adding one more letter here just for you. And that Y is you. Whoever you are, wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, you have to know that you have a message. You were born for this season. As I stated when we started, you are 1 in 7 billion, super unique and available to be able to speak into people's lives in ways that other people never could. You are uniquely qualified to reach an audience that only you can reach. And so the invitation is for you. You are worthy. If you're questioning, do I have what it takes? That's not the question you need to be asking. If you're questioning, like, who am I? How am I going to do this? Like, how do I even hit record like that first time? How do I go live that first time? Well, it was Joseph Campbell who I quoted earlier about the hero's journey and Star Wars. He also said this. He said, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek. And whatever you're afraid of, whatever is scaring you, whatever is intimidating you, let that be an invitation to a higher way of living, a higher echelon, if I'm going to use a good college word. When you see fear and you're experiencing fear, to the course you need to make, the thing that you need to launch, whatever it is, that's an invitation for you to step out and bring it out to the world and let the market help you frame it and shape it and create it for what it needs to be. So like I said, if you're questioning yourself, do I have what it takes? That's altogether the wrong question. The real question here is, who must I become? Who do I need to be to do the thing I see in my heart to do? Take time, invest in yourself, invest in your heart and into your mind. Get a coach, get a mentor, get books, get videos, something that's going to help you reframe your own identity so that you can be the person you need to be in order to do the things that you can do. It's all possible. Step out, face the fears, and grow. And with that, thank you so much for your time. If you want to get a hold of me, my name Angus Nelson. You can find me at angusnelson.com. And I will make a worksheet available to you for download. They'll have some of these components available for you. And in addition, I'll have a special deal for you to be a part of a 30-day challenge that I have to develop your mindset. This thing I was talking about, investing in yourself, that I'm going to give you special pricing just for this audience. So stay tuned for that. Have a great day and go make live streaming something that you can make contagious, that you can be human, that you can connect and you can convert. Thanks so much, everyone.